Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Scheer, back with another singer that you didn't see from season 21 of American Idol, Joshua Ross.
Hey guys, how's it going? To be here is so cool. I've been seeing you doing these podcasts every season since I've been watching the show, and to actually be sitting here and getting to chat with you, it's really cool.
Oh man, likewise. It's cool to talk to you. I want to get to know you a bit before we dive into American Idol. Give me that musical background.
Well, mom says I started singing ever since I could talk. I remember going around the house singing all the time to like Barney and all that stuff as a kid. And basically, the way the story goes is I was in elementary school, humming to myself, and one of my teachers, Miss Lively, heard me. I think this was third grade, probably second, third grade. So we were down in North Carolina at the time, and she heard me singing, and she knew a guy down there by the name of Mr. Forrest, who was looking to put on a show called All the Night Visitors, and he needed a young boy soprano to play the lead, Amal. And so she put me in touch with him. We showed up, Collington United Methodist Church, little white church. And I walked in, sang for Mr. Forrest, and he ended up canceling the other auditions that day. And so he started working with me on that. And his story is he was a retired opera singer, went to Juilliard. And so he had the background for it. He really took me under his wing and just started teaching me the role by ear. Obviously, I was so young, I couldn't read music. I didn't really know anything other than Britney Spears and what was going on the radio. So to have this new classical bit underneath me, it was new. It was very new. So Mr. Forrest taught me them all by ear. I ended up performing it, and that's when I really discovered that I loved being on stage. I loved the classical side of music, and I did those performances. And afterwards, he approached my mom and grandma and was like, "Hey, there's this boarding school in New York City for boys that basically do this. Boys who sing. Would you consider letting him go?" And of course, my mom and grandma, they're my two favorite people, but they're both very overprotective. Nothing's changed. They still are. They were like, "You've lost your mind. Like, there's no way we're letting our 7-year-old, go up to New York to sing. You're crazy." And so the way that I kind of negated that, I knew that that would be a barrier to overcome. And I went to them and I just said, "Look, I've really enjoyed singing. I would really like to keep going and see where this goes. Let me just go and audition and see if I'm good enough to get in." So we hop in the van, drive up to New York. I audition. They see the school and they think it's really cool. I see the school and I absolutely fall in love with it. Like, there's such a community there. So I went, I auditioned, fell in love with the school, and got accepted. And that started my journey in St. Thomas. And so I was very blessed and grateful to attend there from fourth to eighth grade. It was, like I said, boarding school. I kind of equate it to Harry Potter just because the sister school to St. Thomas is Westminster Abbey over in England. So it's just a very British boarding school. And, I was going there at a time where the headmaster was British, the director of the choir master was British. So I had all these influences in my life that were, old school prim and proper British people, which now that I'm later in life, part of the reason I might carry myself too seriously sometimes, Luke Bryan even said that during the audition. He was like, "You're a little serious." I said, "Well, yeah."
Call
But
it classy.
yeah, it's how I was raised. But again, St. Thomas and Mr. Forrest and John Scott, they're the people that I credit to my very early development. A little bit more following up on that story. Mr. Forrest and I always had a piece of music that we would sing together, called Panis Angelicus. It was for soprano and tenor. So he would sing the tenor part and I would shadow him as a soprano. And he ended up actually getting diagnosed with ALS my sixth grade year. So 2 years before I was due to graduate. And that was kind of new because he had so much life and energy in him. He was always go, 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 go. Like old school New Yorker, you would never see him going slow, but I did actually witness that progression of ALS set in. And we planned on singing Panis Angelicus at my eighth grade graduation. And unfortunately, he passed away just a couple weeks before I was able to do that. So that was tough. That was my first real loss of a musical figurehead. And, Mr. Forrest my biological father was pretty much absent, my life. So Mr. Forrest was very much a father figure to me. So that was tough, but I'm so grateful to him for getting me into St. Thomas and for that experience. And I know that he is just looking down, elated at how far I've come. And, now to be sitting here chatting with you about just being on Idol or like auditioning for Idol, blessed is an understatement. I am so grateful for just him and for the experience of St. Thomas and for music in general that, I know that it's my sole purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing. And so now that I'm kind of getting back to that, I'm really happy.
We all have that one person that can change everything. Mr. Forrest, I believe, made American Idol happen because if he hadn't taken you in, he wouldn't have set you on that path. And on TV, we got to see the likes of Iam Tongi and Megan Danielle, where Iam had his dad and Megan had her grandfather. And similar to those moments that we got to see on TV, there are a lot of other stories of people like you that have figures in their life that are just as critical, that may not be with us, but still are there in spirit the entire time.
Absolutely. So when I saw Megan Danielle, well, actually both Megan and Iam's stories, I mean, obviously I was sitting home watching the show from its progression, but just tears, it's so beautiful to see these other singers who have these people similar to me who are just so blessed and gifted and have such amazing voices and who are equally as amazing people, just humble, kind, genuine people. Side note, I saw that Iam is coming to Virginia Beach at the end of this month, Iam and Luke Bryan.
Oh my gosh.
So I just bought my tickets to the Beach at Music Festival. I am so excited.
I might have to get that ticket. When is that?
I want to say June 23rd through 25th. Don't quote me on that, but it's at the end of June.
That's a hot ticket. That
Yeah,
is.
if you drive down, we're gonna have to like get together. That would
Oh
be
my
cool.
gosh. Wow. So think about this, right? You've had some experience with auditions from a very young age, let alone somebody canceling the rest of the auditions just to make it all about you. I mean, that's pretty special, right? And I can see why Mr. Force is so special to you. Going into Idol, there couldn't have been that many other opera singers, I'm guessing. I mean, did you meet any others?
I didn't meet any other opera singers. I passed one gentleman in a tux, and I asked him if he was classical, and he said yes. But we were so busy the entire time I didn't have a chance to really chat with him. But it was so outside of my comfort zone. For years, my mom was like, "You need to audition for one of those America's Got Talent or this or that or the other," and I was so in my own head about, no, I want to do it the old school way. I want to go and audition for the opera houses and get on the operatic stage, and I want to go the old school route. You know, I think part of it was fear and self doubt on my part about being in front of a camera and reaching a wider audience. And part of it was just me being brought up the way I was about doing everything so customary. So I always knew that if I did audition for one of those shows, it would be Idol, because that's the one that I grew up watching and it's the one that I connect with the most. But I didn't know how they would take having an opera singer on the show. And obviously, since I'm here on the Unaired podcast, my stuff didn't get aired. A small clip did, but it's a different genre. It's a very different way of singing. But that being said, those singers who made Idol have such incredible voices, and the technique and connection and breath control is all there. Like, I would love to be able to branch out one day and learn how to do some of these runs and sing a little bit more like they do. And I want to come back. I did mention at the end of my time with Idol that I would love the opportunity, excuse me, to maybe come back and try another audition and see. So I hope that would be on the horizon.
Did the show reach out to you? Were you approached? How did that all happen?
So I was actually scrolling through Facebook probably this time last summer, or maybe a little bit before this, groggy on the timeline, but I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw it pop up in my feed, Idol Across America. And that little voice in the back of my head, the head and gut voice was kind of like, just do it. What do you have to lose? If anything, you'll walk away with more experience and it'll just be fun. I kind of was, I'd seen that before and I had contemplated it before, but finally I let the voice take over. I was like, you're right. Like, I got nothing else going on. I had just got my real estate license that past April. So I was a new realtor. And I was like, well, real estate's wonderful. I love it, but singing's my passion. Maybe this could expedite that, or, maybe something awesome could come from this. So I auditioned and I sang a couple different pieces. I sang Love Me With All Your Heart by Engelbert Humperdinck and Hello Puppy. And I sang a couple other pieces.
Excuse me.
I mean,
Sorry.
my grandma.
Hi there.
Hi.
But I did that, and immediately the producers were like, okay, like you've made it through this round, like we'll be in touch, about next steps and stuff. So I remember I was working with my colleague Alex Preco. We were holding open this big beautiful listing that she had in Suffolk called Truett House. That's kind of its own story. Like all this ties into each other, which I think is really cool too, because Truett House was this big antique mansion from the 1800s, and it actually had this thing called a musician's mezzanine, which was like a little box with a lowered ceiling, and there was a piano, and it's like a balcony overlooking the living room. And the point was to project the sound from that room into the rest of the house. So we were holding this house open that weekend, and she was having me show the guests who were coming to the open house like what it does. She asked me to perform. She had a pianist, so I performed up there, and that was a really unique experience. But I think the kicker, and the owner told us actually that Truett House was special and that good things always happen there. So prefacing all that, at the end of our day, it was the last day before the auction. We ended up getting a full price offer on that house. But I think the cooler thing was that at that time, I got a call from Izzy at American Idol. And I missed it the first time because we were doing stuff, but I saw it was Izzy, and I called her back really quick, and I ran into the library. And Alex, my colleague, she saw me and she could tell by my face something was going on. I was like, American Idol. And so she ran behind me with her phone, not knowing what was going on. And Alex got the phone call on video of Izzy inviting me to Las Vegas to sing for Luke, Lionel, and Katie, which again, just one of those timing things that was so cool. But for Truett House to be there, like these things aren't coincidences. These are synchronicities at this point. And I think to have people like Mr. Forrest overlooking and seeing things, that's when you start to realize that all these things tie together and there is a bigger picture, and God does have his hand in this. And it just further goes to show like how amazing, God is, and that all these things work together to bring you to where you are supposed to be in life. So that's my audition experience.
Wow. Well, and we haven't even gotten to the live auditions, because once you get to Las Vegas, you must have met a lot of great people and made some friends.
And I think that's the best part of this entire thing. Like the audition, great. Being there, great. The people that you meet, like everyone with their own unique story, and then just to be around this incredible energy. Like there was not one person there that I was like, oh, the vibe is off, or that I didn't feel like was approachable or in the same shoes as me. Everyone was so nice and so genuine and down to earth that I was like, wow, it's like a one big powwow of like-minded singers who just get together, sing, have fun, and enjoy life, and who believe in God. Like everyone also had this deep faith and, spirituality about them, which was so cool and unique. Excuse me. You don't see that every day. So to be there around that was very, very cool. The people were amazing. Like lifelong friends came from this. Aiden Boyer, we had a night where we were in the hot tub just chit-chatting. Colt Glover, he was amazing. Abby Bayless, Presley Tennant. And I'm sure there are so many others that I'm missing because I'm on the spot and slightly nervous, chatting during the interview. But again, every single person I met was just so nice and down to earth. I was a little bit nervous. I was definitely in my shell this first time around. I think even though I've sang at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center as a soloist, there's nothing that can prepare you for this experience, being flown to Las Vegas, which I'd never been there. And then again, absolutely nothing in the world can prepare you for walking into that room with Lionel Richie, Luke Bryan, and Katy Perry. Not a single thing, massive audiences singing for them in classical settings. When you have a camera in your face and microphones, and then these three idols that you're now auditioning for, it's a little bit intimidating, regardless of how much singing experience you have. So that coupled with a few things going on in my personal life, I feel like that's why I didn't necessarily get the outcome that I was looking for this time around, but why I'm also so very motivated to go back and try again and, you know, see what the future holds.
Like you said, nothing can prepare you. You don't really have moments to collect yourself once you're in there because the camera's on, and
Yeah.
you at that point you don't know what they're going to show on TV. They could, as you said, they aired a brief clip, but you're just kind of thrust into it. So, what do you recall about the moment that you walked in those doors?
So my first of all, my biggest reservation on doing Idol was exactly what you just said. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I do something goofy and they make me out to look like a fool, or all of this self-doubt. I've now coined a term for it. I call it head trash. I had so much head trash going on,
Mm.
and I think it was my personal, again, so many different factors. But once you kind of let that go and just realize, look, even if they do make you out to be a fool, so what? Like, the worst that people are going to do is laugh, and you know
And you
what other
can't read the
people.
comments.
That's exactly right. And what other people think about you is none of your business. It's none of your business. So think what you want. I'm right with God, and I know where I stand. If you want to think and make me a laughing stock, so be it. That's on you. But um, so going back into the audition room, I remember walking in, and then I kind of remember it was like a blackout. And I know that there are several other people who have said that that's kind of a going theme. All I remember is I was think we were supposed to sing two songs. I got a little bit nervous about the second one, so I ended up only doing one. I emailed them like an hour or two before, and I was like, look, I'm nervous. I'm super nervous. I can only do this one and get through it as best I can. So I went in, sang my song, uh, and they were nice. They were as nice as they could be. I think they could sense that I was nervous and not myself. um, they've been doing this for a long time. It's their job. So obviously they know how to read people well. And, but again, they were very nice. It started with Katie went first. She was the harshest. She flat out told me, you're not American Idol material. And of course, I was nervous, so I sang, and I know I didn't sing my best. I was a little bit tight, definitely uptight in my head. So I understand it. Her opinion, great. I kind of agreed with her that time around. It wasn't my best singing. So moving on to Luke, he, I think, could also tell I was very nervous. He was like, "You're a little uptight. Do you drink tequila?" His actually exact question to me was, "Do you drink tequila?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And he said, "Well, you're a little uptight. I think next time, if you come back, you need to drink some tequila before you come. You're a little uptight. It's a no from me." And I said, "Yes, sir." So I have already made it a point. If I do go back, I will be taking a little nippy to give to Brian as an offering before the next time around. So far we're up to two no's, and then we got to Lionel, and Lionel is my personal idol. Like, I mean, he's a legend. Is Lionel Richie. So he's the one that I really grew up with, watching a lot and listening to. As far as vibes go, he and I are on the most similar wavelength. Like, I love his music. I love the throwback. So I got to him, and he said that I sound a little bit dry, which again, paired with the altitude and elevation of Las Vegas and the time difference is 3 hours. Are they 3 hours ahead or 3 hours behind? There's a 3 hour time difference over there from where I am from. And so he said that he could hear that I was dry, but he still gave me a yes. And that yes is the thing. Oh, he gave me the yes, and he also compared me to Andrea Bocelli, which, I mean, that's really, really cool. Like, Andrea Bocelli is he's doing the thing. Like, he's out there singing and doing it. So I just went, wow. um, I think I had a moment there where I was like, Lionel Richie just compared me to Andrea Bocelli and he gave me a yes. Like, that's really cool. So I think that was the thing that made me go, okay, like I definitely have to try again. Maybe next time around, Luke will be on board. And like, who knows what could happen in the future. But all I know is that this time I got a yes from Lionel Richie, and that's enough for me. Like, that's the thing that I think solidified it, made me go, okay, even though I know that I personally wasn't at my best performing this time around, like maybe now that I've gotten it out of my system and I know what to expect next time, if I do go back, there's a possibility for more. And that yes from Lionel is what cemented that into my head and has given me the drive to want to try again. And yeah, just totally, totally cool.
The fact that it's been some time now and that you seem pretty motivated to go back, like what do you think specifically would be different, or would it be pretty much the same, just kind of crossing your fingers for a different outcome? You know what I mean?
Well, I think I would try to be a little bit calmer. I think after my audition, I got deep into meditation and started, doing a lot of things that I did as a kid that I kind of forgot about for a period of time. So I think if I were to go back, I would try very hard to stay a little bit calmer. I wouldn't have all these external life circumstances going on. I was just a little glimpse into the personal life. Um, I was in the midst of selling my condo. I was going through a very big breakup, which was really tough on me. So that was something that was going on in the background. Um, so I think if I were to go back now at a later time and not have external circumstances and was really to keep my head in the game, um, it could potentially be a different outcome. I think song choice too. I ended up going with something a little bit more classical. Maybe if I were to go back this time around, I would branch out a little bit and do something more popular. You know, I don't know. I haven't been put in the position yet to really give it the thought. I've thought about it briefly, what I could potentially do. I think that the possibility of a better outcome is definitely more realistic, if I were to go back another time around. Like I said, nothing can compare you for being there. Nothing can prepare you for each time they do it, because obviously there's different things in place, when you're there, actors that you're interacting with and certain things. So I don't know. I feel better. If I were to go back, I would definitely feel more calm. I would know what to expect. I'd be more familiar with the cameras in my face. And I would also know that if I were to do anything goofy, because I'm sure there were a couple times that they caught me on camera this past time doing goofy stuff. Yeah, they might air it, but guess what? Who cares? I think I've also adapted my own mentality, and I've started to practice what I preach about, other people's thoughts and opinions are none of my concern. I'm more confident and firm in my own understanding of myself that if Idol chooses to film me and make me out to be a goofball, well, then I'll be Joshua, the singing realtor who's a goofball. I don't care, you know?
What did they play into as far as like your story? Did they talk about being a realtor? Did they talk about your personal life? Did they get much into your story when they were doing interviews?
They did. I remember when I was in my interview, I cried during my interview. I don't know why. They brought up my grandparents, and I don't know why I was emotional that day. I think I was just nervous and excited and in the feels. And so I did cry during the interview. And basically, I was talking about how my grandparents are my biggest supporters and how they have been the two most stable people in my life. And they were the reason that I was there. Surprisingly, it wasn't Mr. Forrest, it was my grandparents that I was really doing this for. So I do remember that we talked about that during the interview. We did talk about real estate a little bit, about how I'm a realtor at Remax. And, I think they were curious about that because there aren't a lot of realtors who go and sing and do this. I know one other opera singing realtor who has an Instagram and who does sing and does real estate and does both. Her name is Andy Moore. And I think she actually went to governor's school, which is the same high school I went to. So that's kind of cool.
Anything you want to share about life since you filmed Idol, or even just the reaction to kind of watching this past season? Because I know that you were a fan of, and I could see you posting about it, and you were really excited about season 21 as it was airing.
100%. So I never heard one way or another if they were going to air my whole audition or not. And actually, I'm kind of glad that they ended up not airing it because I, again, know that this wasn't my best singing this first time around. But they did air that little 5-second clip. And when it aired, I had a bunch of people reach out to me and they were like, oh my God, we just saw you on American Idol. Like, what the heck? And I was like, they didn't tell me that they were going to air it. So I was kind of caught off guard. And that was really, really unique. But again, yes, as soon as the season aired, I was so excited for, oh my gosh, Ashley Tankard. She was
Yes.
one that I didn't mention earlier, but she was one who I've become good friends with. Lucy Love, too, when we were in the room and we were having the moment where we sang He's Able. Like I caught that moment on film, and that was just one thing that was so transformative for me. Like the energy in that room when Lucy was singing was incredible. Like it felt like church. Like she literally took us to church. So there are two more people that I forgot to mention earlier, but would love to mention. I just couldn't believe like seeing them on television and seeing their auditions and then watching their progression through the show, to look back and to just go, oh my God, like this person who you're sitting in your living room watching perform and kick ass on American Idol, you met, and like you were there and you went through the same process that they went to. Not only is it inspiring, but it's just so touching. And it makes you go, wow, like you're really blessed, like you were able to interact with this person. And I hugged Lucy Love. Like, so yes, there were some fangirl moments that I had, and Colt too. Like when I watched his audition era, I was like, oh my God, like we had a moment where we chatted about vocal technique and like how ways to take care of your voice. And now having that moment and then watching him perform in his audition, like it's like a friend. Like, how cool is that? I mean, you're a fan. Like, I think that's one of the things that make every contestant have something in common. Like, I think we're all fans of each other in a unique way. Like, I look at some of the people, even some of the ones that I didn't meet, and I'm like, God, like, what a blessing they have to be able to sing like that. And what an incredible voice and personality and story. At the end of the day, the only term that I have for that is blessed. Just blessed to have been there and to have watched them, to be a part, even if it was just for that season, of such an amazing community and of something so incredibly great. There's no other TV show, singing show that I would even consider going on at this point. Idol's the one. Like, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of the people who are on the show. I'm a fan of the people who make the show. And to have been on the show myself now, it's just one more, tick the box. Like, thank you, God. Like, I'm just very, very, very fortunate and, grateful, very
Mm.
grateful.
Wow. Even though we didn't get to see your audition air, I figure we would share some pictures right now that you've sent me, because this is you in the audition room, right? So there's the Idol backdrop, and you look really happy there. And if you're not watching, if you're listening, you might want to check this out, but we can post these as well to at Idol Unaired podcast. But that looks like you probably when you were getting your feedback from the judges.
Yeah. Yeah. I was standing there just kind of like partly still in shock that I had just sang for the three of them, and partly like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to progress? Like, what's going to happen? Because again, they don't tell you in advance what's going to happen. Like, it's very much live action, like what's happening there, and they're going to air it one way or another. So I remember Amy, one of the producers, Amy Paradine, she had such good energy, like her vibes. She was a commanding presence. She knew how to tell everyone what to do, where to be, when to do it, all of it. And at one point in time, she was like, yeah, what you see is what you get. Like, if you pass out, we're going to cover around you with cameras and we're going to air it. So having that in the back of my mind, I think after I sang, I was like, okay, make sure you keep breathing. Don't lock your knees. Like, make sure that you don't pass out, because that's the last thing. You don't want to be the one that passes out on American Idol. Like, it's one thing to have a voice crack or to not sing that well, but if you pass out, like, for some reason in my head at that moment, I was internalizing how scary it would be if you passed out and that were to air. So probably in that last picture, I was like, breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay, don't lock your knees. Like that's what was going on, I think, behind the scenes.
You got so much out of watching other people, but you also were on that stage and that set, and so it's important to look back at those and remember like you did it too, and also everybody that was a part of that season, just giving yourselves the pat on the back, right? To say we did this, and you're all part of that family, regardless of the outcome. Yes, no, however far you make it, right?
100%. Like I said, those people that I sat with, Abby was one. Abby Bayless is one person that I sat with a lot of time in the holding room because you spend just a lot of time there. I mean, we chatted for such a long time. At one point, she ended up gluing one of Meme's false eyelashes on that was coming off because my grandma, whose house I'm in, she was actually at the audition with me. We got to go to Vegas together, which was really, really cool. But yeah, like she glue on her eyelash. Like such a simple task is something that meant so much to me and her. It's just really cool. Like I said, lifelong friends from all these amazing people and just blessed.
Anything you want to share? Again, just kind of more post-idol, things that you've been up to, things you're looking forward to.
Like I said, even though I didn't get the outcome this time, I definitely would love to go back. So I plan on auditioning again. As far as things that have changed, I'm still doing real estate. It's great. I'm doing it as a means to an end before I can hopefully eventually transform into only singing. It's still my end goal. It's definitely lit a fire under me. You know, I think because it was happening during a breakup and during all these other things that were going on in my life, getting that yes from Lionel has motivated me to turn my focus back to singing. So in addition to real estate, I've just taken up part-time teaching voice and piano again, which is nice, something I haven't done in many years. So I'm sure I'll get some inspiration from doing that again. Like I said, I plan on re-auditioning for Idol. I would love to put on a recital here in Virginia. That's something that's in the works. I might try to come up with a recital series or something that I do here locally. Yeah, just trying to find ways to perform again and sing and, use my God-given voice and maybe branch out a little bit, do some popular music. I've been posting to Instagram more. That's something that's been interesting. I've definitely been posting more to Instagram, and I've tried coming up with a TikTok, maybe a YouTube channels in the future. I don't know. There's so many different doors that Idol has the potential of opening, which is very, very incredible. I might try to do a real estate YouTube channel, but also have a separate voice channel, or I don't know. The possibilities are endless. It's just a matter of figuring out where I fit in, maybe having some guidance, in the form of a producer or somebody who really knows the ins and outs of this business. Like I said, I know real estate and I know business, but I don't know how to take myself as my own brand and run with it. Like that's something I'm still been developing, and like making my Instagram look the way it looks and trying to come up with a TikTok personality or something there that I could turn into something. So these are all things that are in the works that I'm trying to figure out how to get going and hopefully build up a social media presence, and eventually that would work in tandem if I were to go back to Idol and try that again.
Speaking of social media, where do we need to follow you to keep in touch with all of that?
My Instagram handle is at joshua.ross, all lowercase with 2 zeros. And then my Facebook page is just called Joshua. So I think the at is at joshua.ross1, I think.
Gotcha. Well, guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. You can follow me, Bennett Scheer, at TV Music Guy, on both of those platforms. Joshua, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Ben, and I appreciate your time. It was awesome talking to you.